Okay, so what we're going to do next is going to move into the next session straight away. This one is going to be the opportunity for us to engage with our CCP people, and they can even, or a possible even write a reply to Moose's awesome suggestions on what they should and shouldn't be doing. Anyway, but I know you were nodding your head at one point going, dude. Anyway, so what we're going to do is get them up here, and you guys happy to stand, or we want to set up some chairs?
Standing's fine.
Standing's good?
Standing is cool.
So we've got a mic for her, so we have to pass it between us. So that's good.
It's okay, CCP Mimic can just shout.
So what we're going to do...
if you have any questions for CCP Mimic, you can send in a support ticket and she will reply to it via support ticket.
So, okay,
but only after I get back, so you're going to have to wait.
The goal here is, and we're modelling this after some of the panel sort of style discussions they have at FanFest, and or some of the roundtables. It's really a really cool idea that CCP makes a lot of their devs available in their specific topic areas. Because we don't have the idea of having various roundtables of various topics, we thought we'd just go for a sort of Q&A panel style up the front here. So what we want to do, and hopefully you've looked at your program, and a few of you have got some really probing questions in all the specific areas these guys are involved.
I expect this to be a highly intellectual discussion.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I would say basically it's more free form than sort of just pitch presentations alike. So I'm happy for people to queue up here, and Rise wants to say something right now.
Yeah, just two things. While I have a mic, I want to say today's been, I think, the highest quality player presentations I've seen anywhere. So good job to all of you. Like, while I have a mic, really, really good. And then about this session, I just wanted to say, you guys can obviously say anything you want, but I want to just emphasize that if your question is actually a feature request, rather than like a question that you need answers to, you can talk about it if you want, but send either tickets to Mimic or emails to me. I was talking to some people and they really didn't realize that we do read emails, and a lot of times sending us something in text where I'll remember it, since probably most thing that happens here I won't remember, will work out better for you. So go for that if there's something you want to suggest.
Come on.
Yeah, but that's it. Anyway.
So, okay, have we got a question from Kips?
Yeah, well, people need more people to ask questions, so come on up. Rise, referring to the video presentation earlier with a picture of you and stuff, as well as the hat. Are you considering a change to CCP douchebag for, permanent?
I just am embracing it, like, yeah. After the picture, I'm just going for it.
Like, do you know how hard it is working on the same floor as him?
If that's a job offer, I'll take it. Okay.
Hi there. First of all, CCP Mimic, could I get my Tango back, please? No, I'm just joking. You guys were, when CCP Rise was doing his presentation, he was talking about doing like the .land style maps in-game. I think I speak for everybody when I'm asked, when are we going to get an in-game EFT? Is it being worked on?
So, I have to be careful.
I'm just wondering if it's being worked on.
I saw a new internal documentation page show up recently that would be very exciting to you, but I don't know very much about it, so I can't really... I can't go further than that, but
I'll take it.
People are looking at the fitting window, and there may be stuff coming. I hope all the answers aren't going to be that, but that's the best I can do, unfortunately.
But please don't actually try and hack into our internal wikis. That would make our ISEC guys really mad.
Small one. The dojo that was being worked on, is that still coming?
No, is really the short answer. I mean, that was really interesting for us as just kind of an experiment to see whether or not we could have a feature that was prototyped, give it to players, see what the reaction was, and see what the use was like, and then not follow up on it. And that was kind of, I mean, that was sort of the expectation. We weren't sure exactly what would happen, but the expectation a bit was that we wouldn't follow up on it because Veritas was leaving, and he was really the biggest driver for that project. So there's still interest in ideas, at least related to that, but that feature itself, I don't see picking up steam in the near future. It was kind of an experiment on a few levels that was really interesting to learn from, but I don't think I don't think you're going to see those like headed for TQ anytime soon. It's something that we kind of just wanted to get some information from, and we'll see if someone else picks it up or if it gets more momentum sometime later, but for now probably not.
Given the new updates to maps that are coming through, is there sort of like a direction or a goal from CCP to bring third-party tools in-house?
No. With stuff like the EFT fitting copy pasting we added recently, where you can just pull from EFT and drag it into client, we're trying to do as much as we can to support third-party tools. The API stuff that's happening from Fox4 is another example of that. But I think it's a little too messy for us to ever try and actually combine. We're never going to have third-party stuff actually supported in the client necessarily. It's always going to be kind of in the area it is now, where we're doing the best we can to support it without getting tied up in some of the issues that would come if we were really directly working with them. And I think we're moving more towards support recently and trying to find out what we can do to make it easier for third-party developers and to support tools that players really like. But I do think there's always going to be a little bit of distance between us.
If you're a third-party developer, you should definitely find CCP Fox4 on Twitter and follow him. Go check out the developer site. He's doing a lot of the stuff as far as things like the API and Crest and SNSO. So he's, for many of the third-party dev guys, their new hero at the moment. But yeah, so we're probably more supporting. And sometimes we'll take a little bit of inspiration, like with the 2D maps, but actually like bringing it into the client is, like CCP Rise says, not really something on the cards.
Before Rubicon came out, Nullset got a big hit with income. Is that going to go back to how it was before Rubicon?
No. Yeah, that's fine.
Happy birthday, Faulty!
Where's my cake?
I'm sorry, but I ate it.
So, why is it healer when it says Gila?
Because we said so.
Is that just your way of trolling us?
We said so.
No, I think it's you guys' way of trolling me. It's Gila. Why do you keep talking about it being Gila?
G-I-L-A. If it was H-I-L-A, I'd understand, but there's one letter difference.
English is hard, yo.
Good point.
This is what happens when you create a language by basically beating up other languages and stealing spare bits of them.
Okay, I'm actually about to ask about the graphics testing that was displayed at one of the FanFests. I was wondering if there's been any new stuff coming through on that, because being able to run the graphics test program locally and be able to give the feedback was something that I definitely wanted to do.
I think that shipped and that they've gotten a bunch of cool information from it.
Eve Probe, Eve Probe is out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like there's a sub-forum for it, and they're putting out new builds all the time for it when they get new builds. So you can actually go and grab Eve Probe, download it, and run it on your computer right now. And the guys who've been doing that stuff will love every one of you. Like, even if you have like the most potato computer in the world, they'll love you even more actually if you have one of those. They want to get as much data for as many different configurations as they can, so they can test it in as many different environments, because like one of the things with PC game development is that you have so many different variations of hardware to run on you that sometimes get little tiny bugs that just come out of these weird circumstances, and they're very hard to catch without this sort of like mass testing.
So where do we find that, dude? Just on the main site?
Yeah,
don't jump up.
Yeah, if you go to the main EVE Online forums, there should be a sub-forum specifically for Eve Probe.
Okay, I must have missed the announcement for it to come out then.
Yeah, we put in the news article a while back, but I don't think there was a lot of fanfare around the time because it was a bit of a soft launch, because it's very much still kind of beta. So,
hey, I'm just curious, with CCP Seagull's master game plan thing, is there more pressure on CCP to constantly push that content out? Because instead of 2, it's now 10.
I think we're still kind of figuring that out. It's weird. I feel like from my perspective in dev, there's not more external pressure. It's not Seagull or other producers or leads coming and like forcing everybody to get more stuff together. But also I think a lot of people really want to deliver amazing stuff on every release, like just out of self-motivation. The teams that are working want to be able to be an important part of each release, and so there's more there's more pressure coming from inside the teams to deliver stuff regularly. And I think everybody's trying to still figure out kind of where the sustainable balance for that is. You know, it's very likely, for instance, that the January release is not going to have like anywhere near the amount of stuff that Ria or Phoebe did, and that's fine. Like the intent is that it's kind of a matter of when we have things, and you know, being more flexible, not necessarily producing a ton more stuff in general. But it is really interesting how the switch to this cycle, I think, has caused us to be more productive. I think everybody's kind of amped up the amount of stuff they're doing, just because they want to deliver amazing things as often as they can. And I think it'll be a bit before we figure out what the kind of good sustainable pace is for us, but.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I really like the model because, in my opinion, it means that there's more concurrent subscriptions more often. Instead of having, you know, that 3-month play period post a patch, then everyone drops off for 3 months, and then another patch happens and everyone subs for another 3 months. Now it's like there's more concurrent subscriptions. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. I mean, I can't talk about what happens with what's happening actually with subscriptions, but it feels really cool to have something to be excited about all the time. And I think that's kind of what we're wanting to deliver just within the teams, is we want to make sure that now that we're able to, we always have something exciting for people to look forward to in the next month or the next 2 months.
Yeah, speaking from a marketing standpoint on that kind of point, like for marketing, it used to be a case like every 6 months we would have like a big hammer blow where we would focus every single resource we've got around the expansion, and that's what we used to drive people to the game. But with the constant releases, we basically have moved to more of trying to get people to be constantly engaged by constantly engaging with them. And we feel that this is a better way to go about it because it actually keeps people engaged, because we prefer for one guy to be subscribed for 6 months than 2 guys to subscribe for a month.
Just one more brief question. With regards to the court management side of things, I know that was part of CCP Seagull's plan. How far progressed are you guys into that, and what sort of details might you be able to throw out?
I can't give tons of details. I know that 5.0 is the team that's probably going to be taking that on. I know that they've been really in the kind of thick of working on both the sensor overlay and Thera and the kind of wormholes coming with Thera. So they've been kind of heavily embedded in that work for the last 6 or 8 weeks, but I know they're still planning to get to the Corp and Alliance work, and I don't know a lot of specifics either about implementation or timing, but I know that it's still part of the plan.
I've heard before about CCP DevRoam, so you'll leave from Polaris and just murder every player you see that crosses your path.
Usually we just fly in a line and all get killed and don't do anything.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, where are these DevRoams where we murder everybody? Like, it usually happens the other way.
Yeah. Is there any chance of one happening in the Australian time zone? It's very hard to get CCP kill mails.
We will have to negotiate with several people to, if we wanted to try that.
Also, then you could try roaming with downtime.
I mean, unfortunately, like, seriously, a lot of the event stuff that we do, both the live events and the DevRoam stuff, we would really want to be able to make it time zone equal, but we just do it when we're at work, and we, like most people, work from 9 to 5, and so it means, you know, everybody working like late at night, which most people would think is pretty bizarre. I wish we could do it more easily, and maybe we can get a small group of us and try and do events later, but I know it's always been difficult for us. I mean, I know this has come up a lot with the live events especially, but, you know.
Next question.
Okay, hello. Coming Phoebe, you have shown a lot of love for jump drives. I'm sure everyone shares that idea, right? So is in the short or medium term plans to show similar love, for example, for reps, or remote reps specifically?
No.
No.
Oh. There's no, no. I mean, I mean, there has been some discussion kind of in the balance group talking about whether or not there should be some more counterplay for like logi chains, whether that's more direct attack on like cap supply or more positioning based counters or something. So there's talk about adding some stuff that gives you more counterplay against heavy logistics groups, but it's not something that's like a big pressing issue that's definitely coming, and it definitely wouldn't be on the scale that Phoebe was attacking projection. I mean, it would be a lot more subtle, I think.
Oh, okay.
You guys gave access to Dialothus a great set of tools for him to make Day of Darkness 2, which was a massively popular movie that he put out for the Admiral's attack on Galante Prime, basically, back during the start of the war. Has there been any kind of push within CCP at all to make a set of tools that players can use more publicly without having to go into the CCP headquarters to make movies like that?
There's not been a particular push in like recent times to have that sort of stuff. I mean, part of the difficulty with that is the tools that were used at the time. I'm pretty sure it was Jessica that used it. Yeah, that's something that we shouldn't really let players be playing with. Like that's a pretty serious piece of kit in our dev toolkit. As far as actually allowing players to do more of that, I mean, as a community guy, I would love nothing more than that, but that is a fairly serious undertaking. I mean,
I was more talking in terms of, say, specific camera controls like follow or chase cameras, or the different things you can do without having to get access to Jessica, without having to use that sort of stuff and be able to use Sissy instead.
I mean, that's, I think if there's a particular feature that would be very helpful for that, but also gives value to people on TQ just for playing Eve, then sure. But I think it's going to be unlikely, and this has probably been a lot of the reason that Jessica or something similar has never made it to players before, is that it's very hard for us to justify.
That's how Day of Darkness 2 was made.
Yeah. With Jessica. Yeah. But like the reason it's hard is just that it's hard for us to sacrifice dev time for this niche thing when we could be building features for Eve. There's just so much we want to do for Eve that it's hard to spend, it would mean spending a team to develop kind of these dedicated features for player content. And as much as we love player video content, it's just, I think it's a hard call to send away people who could be working on stuff for everyone and put them on support for this kind of thing. Side note on that, I mean, in case anyone doesn't know, Day of Darkness and Day of Darkness 2, which are amazing, made by Player. That Player got hired by CCP, and he made the trailer you saw today with some other people. So it's a pretty cool story, I think. He's awesome. Here you go.
First of all, huge thanks from so many people to Play Eve for allowing us to save and share overviews. That's made such a huge difference for my corporation. And just with the upcoming UI improvements that we've seen the dev blogs for and the pretty pictures for, I think a few of us are really hoping that on the back end of that beautiful front end UI, we're going to get the ability possibly to maybe save our window sizes and UI layouts, so that we can use them over multiple computers when we need to.
Yeah, I don't think that's part of the implementation of the new UI stuff that's coming now, but I was actually talking with someone else about that, and to me that seems like something that should absolutely be able to be done in the same way as the shareable overviews by someone like Karka or Puncturus, so I'd pass them along a mail. And bring it up. I can't imagine it would be an enormous amount of work to save at least some basic configuration for layout. So I can try to remember to bring it back to her, but this is the kind of thing where, just in case, it would be good for you to try to send one of them something as well.
Mails will be sent, yep.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's coming with the implementation that's there now, but it doesn't seem out of the question at all.
Also poke the CSM members and tell them that this is something that you guys should be putting in there, or to poke any future CSM candidates and tell them this is something you should put on your campaign.
So this is probably more directed towards Rise because it's a ship balancing question, but I'd be interested to hear from all three of you about it. Last year we asked Fozzie what his kind of vision is for super capitals like Titans and obviously, supers. Or how do you see like that rebalance going along, or how do all of you see it? Is there anything actually in the works yet, or? Yeah, no, it's kind of like a hard one. You're probably just gonna.
The thing that's in the works is we have random discussions about what kind of things we might be able to do, but it's all. We know that what we would want is to have it taking advantage of new Dogma, which is the back-end tech work that kind of is holding up a whole bunch of balanced stuff like the change to links and some other things. And basically that tech would let us do more kind of dynamic and interesting effects, stuff like moving groups of people around or having some kind of AE status effects or something like that. what those would be exactly is definitely not well understood. I mean, we know that we want them to do something unique that's valuable and strategic and cool, but we definitely don't have any specifics pinned down for what that would actually look like. Well, once we get Dogma, probably the first thing we would hit is links, and hopefully that happens before too long. Make that gameplay a lot better, and then supers would probably follow somewhere after that.
Right, maybe you can explain to everybody what Dogma actually is. I don't know if everybody.
Yeah. So I mean, I can't really because it's really hard to understand. But basically, Dogma is the backend service that controls everything that happens with attributes and effects in the game. So everything, anytime you shoot someone, the code that's handling the way that the damage is processed and the way that the ranges are understood and all that stuff, and the way, you know, taking your skills into account and ship bonuses, all that stuff is getting managed by Dogma. And Dogma is one of the oldest systems in the game, and apparently I hear from programmers it was not written in maybe the best way. So there's a big project that's been going on by Team Gridlock, the team that did TiDi, which was led by Veritas. They are trying to just refactor that entire system and redesign it. And that once that's done, it opens up a whole lot of possibilities for the way that we calculate all those kinds of effects, the way that we the way that everything in a fight or just in the game in general is happening changes, and there's a lot of new possibilities. We can do stuff like count, you know, how many people are near you and have that affect how your modules perform, or have a lot of effects tied together that we can't now, that kind of thing. So we're kind of putting off a lot of the kind of bigger rebalances like supers until after we have that.
As a kind of quick follow-on from that, is that a limiting factor in a lot of the changes that that's sort of in the pipeline at the moment? Are you waiting for those sort of tools to be upgraded before you can implement, you know, big sort of sob changes and stuff? So at the moment you can't just tinkering around the edges while
less
really
so probably,
but still, you know.
Less so probably for SOV and structures. Those things we kind of have an open door. Those are their own systems, so they have to get refactored on their own as well. But definitely for a lot of the balance changes, I mean, for a lot of, right now we run into that problem a lot with new ships. The new Tech 3 destroyers are actually getting some pretty hacky implementation just to make the idea of the mode switching work, because current Dogma handles it in such a weird way that it's very hard for us to get outside of the kind of standard way ships work now. And there's a lot of saturation kind of in balancing ships in that paradigm, and so a lot of changes and ideas for new ships and ideas for new mechanics, things like system effects and dynamic PvE content. I mean, a lot of things are kind of hung up on Dogma changing. So there is a lot of stuff, yeah, kind of behind that. But there's also a lot of systems that aren't. I mean, as you can see by a lot of the stuff, we're able to have these releases full of tons of things without ever having to worry about it. So.
Yeah, cool, thanks.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going? Thanks, kids.
Hey, Chimera, why isn't it spelled with a K?
There you go.
Where is Gila from? Is it American or something? I mean, it's
just
I don't
a
know.
made-up word.
Go ahead.
So the 1v1 tournament is tomorrow.
What?
And the 1v1 PvP tournament is tomorrow.
Yeah.
And after CCP Fozzie tanking last year with CCP Pride on the line and 3 devs here, do you think that you're the best dev to actually win that CCP Pride battle?
I personally think that CCP Rise is going to kick all of your asses.
Because you do realise that it isn't you 3 devs against one guy.
Yes, we are all going to share a keyboard, aren't we?
If you did want to do that, you could all sit in the same chair, but you'll have to pilot the same ship, so one person gets drones.
Actually, no, wait, that's right. Somebody's going to be sitting on the other computer doing the dev hacks, and like one person does the mouse and one person does the keyboard. Isn't that the arrangement?
Whatever you guys want.
We'll sort that out tomorrow.
Who likes the Sino?
Where we're going, we don't.
We did announce Rise will be, I think, flying a Polaris frigate, won't you, or something like that?
I can't even fly a Polaris frigate. For some reason, no one ever gave me roles to even sit in a Polaris frigate. We go fly around as devs, like visiting players in JITA, and I have to use a Brutix because I don't have like skills to fly dev ships. I don't know why they won't give it to me.
Have you tried filing a support ticket?
Yeah, I probably should.
Okay, next question, sir.
The module TerraSide, where that was started, I think, was Oceanus. Is that still being continued, or has that been held up by the Dogma?
No, there's a ton of work we can do there. It is definitely still ongoing. It's actually pretty awesome. CCP Terminus, who's our newest game designers, kind of picked up that project a bit, and so he's got a bunch of stuff coming. I think we're doing like mining lasers, a bunch of the navigation mods like overdrives and nanos and stuff.
Is that rear or rear or?
I think so. Yeah. Okay. And Fozzie's hitting small lasers because of doing the new destroyer. He wanted to get that done as well. So there's still a lot of stuff happening. I mean, it'll probably ebb and flow as we are busy with other projects, but it's definitely something we want to, keep moving. And there's a lot of stuff coming in RIA. So yeah.
Thanks.
What, if anything, are you doing about mitigating the effects of latency for people on this side of the world compared to dealing with people on the other side of the world?
Feeling the love from the Australian community.
So, as a game designer, GM, and marketing person, we're not doing anything. But
everything's fine.
I know that. Okay, I've seen some emails and in my email box at work that people care about Australians and that they're looking into making your lives better. So
actually, I'll endorse that because I did because we were setting up a couple of days ago, and CCP Rise did actually give me a small snippet. Obviously, the details can't be revealed right here, but it is legit. They do care about us, which I was really impressed about. No, seriously, it was cool. He said, "Look at this RD," and I went, holy dooly. Yeah, they showed they cared.
Yeah, we do care, but yeah, I have no idea what specifically, if anything, is being done at the moment. So.
Yeah. On that note, though,
I'm sorry, I didn't realize there was so much like hurt in Australia.
There's no. Hey man, how do you think we feel? How do you think we feel?
Nobody listens to you.
On a slightly more serious note, if there are particular things that you think could be improved in that sphere, sending Tim Tams to CCP Nullable may help your case. And I'm not even joking. I am not even joking. If you send Tim Tams to the Iceland office addressed as CCP Null, or actually send them to me, I'll make sure they get to him.
Actually, for those who weren't listening on the Eve Down Under show last Thursday night, CCP Rise was, what was it? You organised a Tim Tam
Slam.
Tim Tam Slammer on the show, and he wasn't so convinced about the Vegemite, but Tim Tams were okay, yeah?
Some of the best Twix bars I've ever eaten, yeah.
You know what? I don't think you're going to win the PV tournament anymore.
Okay, move on. A few more questions and then we'll have to close it out, guys.
Given that Australia narrowly follows the United States in our awesome levels of obesity, and Ben Demon's demise is at the peak of physical fitness, including myself, when are we going to be able to make fat characters?
The effects of many of you living in your pod so much and being in that sort of weightless environment has a very interesting effect on the human body.
Excellent.
Also, the fact that you're not really entirely human like we are today. There's a lot of bits and pieces of machinery in your head. You'd be surprised.
Despite what he says, I think it's a great idea. I'm going to go back and see if I can get that taken care of.
Yeah, that's not to say maybe we should do this.
Yeah. And now that we have TiDi to allow us to go to sleep in fleet fights, is there plans to improve server hardware more so that we can reduce TiDi?
Didn't we just do a big server upgrade super recently?
I mean, the thing is though, even beyond that, the higher you push the cap, the more people you guys will bring and the more drones you'll put in space. It's like a never-ending war. It's like, oh, we'll upgrade the server hardware, you guys bring like
that's
500
actually
people, then another 200, then another 1,000, and then how do you even get all these people?
The actual biggest motivator for the Dogma rework was fleet lag. The biggest win from that, there's a bunch of balance stuff and there's new things we can do, but the most important win from that is that the load on the server goes down a ton. So
how many of you have heard of Brain in a Box? Raise your hands. Brain in the Box is being held up by the Dogma rework. So once it's done, the lag from jumping your entire fleet and tie-dyeing all across your path is going to be reduced.
Since we didn't have every hand go up, we better explain just for seconds what Brain in the Box is.
Brain in the Box basically is, you know how CCP Mimic before was talking about how, well, somebody asked CCP Mimic that basically everything is a box within a box within a box within a box. So when you jump between nodes, it has to take everything in that box and hand it over, essentially. Correct me if I'm saying anything wrong here. So basically what Brain in the Box does is takes the box that basically contains everything in your head, and it puts it on another server, so the servers that are moving all of your ships doesn't also have to move your entire head, which for some of you people has a lot of skills and implants in there. And a lot of other stats. So if you put that somewhere else, then that greatly reduces the amount of stuff that needs to be transferred, less processing, everything's faster, everybody's happy because there's less tie-dye. So yeah, but the thing is, because Dogma in its current state doesn't understand the meaning of a literal, so you can't like have a constant value. You have to have everything as modifying something else. We can't really do that yet. So once the Dogma rewrite has been done, then we can have Brain in the Box, and then you guys can jump around like gate to gate more easily.
Cool. Okay, next question.
In the next patch, there will be a T3 destroyer as well. So do you have any plan to develop more T3 battleships or T3 frigates? And then
I must say, I've heard this question a couple times, and I'm a little disappointed that we haven't even released a new Tech 3 class, and you're asking for the next Tech 3 class. Like, well, you guys are insatiable. Possibly. I mean, I think the concept for the new destroyers is a lot more promising in terms of expanding it to other classes, and so if it goes well, if they're popular and we're happy with where they end up, then it probably would be something we could look into.
Okay, and then T3 or so T3 ships for pirate factions, T3 Blood Raider Cruiser or something like that.
Yeah.
T3 even Titan, Titan for faction. Green Star Titan or Blood Raider Titan like that. Are you interested in developing those kinds of ships? Even better, even not only better subcaps, but also like Titan, Green Star Titan.
Whenever the idea of adding caps and cap capabilities comes up, we have to figure out current caps before we move on to adding new caps. Like, we could make a big mess by just going further without understanding where cap balance needs to be to begin with. But
all right.
Try not to talk from the back, guys, because obviously on the videos we will not be able to pick it up, and that would be sad because you obviously if you want to make some comment, jump to the microphones, guys. Honest, I just love. Okay, come on.
Quick one. Wow, microphone. Is there any plans on expanding on combat boosters? Any new combat boosters coming out, or any new implants like expanding? Because Genelutions were really cool.
Yes.
Excellent.
On an additional note, I'm going to make the art department hate me for even asking this idea, and I was a conversation last night that spurred this on with somebody. How much would you guys like a booster that given to you around the holidays that turns all the missiles that you fire into snowballs? Still being missiles, but they have the graphical effects of snowballs.
Yes.
Okay, the art department officially hates me now.
Or turkeys at Thanksgiving.
So my question is, I mean, the turnout here is great. This is my first E-Fest. From what I've been talking to, the numbers have increased since last year. Do you guys have a model in place to sort of put E forward to the Australian population so we can fill the rest of these next year?
I mean, obviously we're investing more each year. It's worked out well, I think, for us so far, and there's 3 of us this year instead of 1, and there's a lot of cool stuff, and so hopefully, I mean, that's probably more your area than mine, Ben, but... I mean, we've been investing in player events a lot. I think that we know they're awesome, and we're kind of focusing a lot of marketing effort actually that maybe before would have been spent more focused on web and banners and reaching out to new people, and reinvesting it a lot in trying to support the stuff the community's doing, because I think we get a lot from that. And you know, I don't know specifically any numbers or what the plans are or anything, but I know that as a company we're very focused on supporting player events, and I don't think that's going to change.
As an example of that, if people aren't aware, CCP Games took formally over the running of Vegas. Yeah, so that's all part of it, and that got to the opportunity for us to claim the largest player-run event in the world. I'm not sure if everyone was aware of that. This is the largest player-run gathering at this point in time. So Aussies, we're doing great. And we've been approached by a number of groups around the world, and there has been some talk with GARD and the community team to try and continue to support these events around the world in different places like Eve Amsterdam and all the other guys as well. So yeah, there is this growing momentum in the company that I've sensed as well. So that's the short answer, or the shortish answer. The long answer is it's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated, and like one of the things that's probably helped this is that community has now been moved into marketing, so we're now actually within that group rather than we used to be much closer to the GMs as a customer like service thing.
It's much nicer
now. So basically, so yes, I have now sold somebody else's soul to the devil. So now we are basically like, a lot of the stuff is like CCP Rise was saying, a lot of the stuff is more about helping you guys do more awesome stuff. Like that's many ways part of my job description. Like, so supporting events like this, supporting fan sites, like the current fan site program is something I've just taken over, and that's going to be next year's wonderful new project, starting off with that. Basically pushing anything to help you guys just have more fun and have more fun with each other in the community. Like that's what we want.
I have two questions. Firstly, is there any plans to change like AFK cloaky camping? Because
troll post. That was done already, I think.
I can't believe you guys think it's a joke. Like in Vegas, this is like every other question, legitimately. It's so awesome.
The second question I've got is that there's obviously a few people, especially like in the Australian community, who are pretty space rich. And like once you've got your Pimp Titan, your Pimp Supercarrier, and you're plexing all your accounts until the server shut down, is there any plans to give us something new to spend our money on?
So basically, you want us to give you actually what is essentially a black hole for ISK.
It's actually a really good question. We talked a little while back, especially when we were leading into the industry work, about aspirational stuff in EVE, and in a lot of ways it is kind of at this capped point now where there's a lot of people who don't feel they have a lot of further aspiration, whether it's because of ISK or because of how much they've done, and it's something we need to kind of approach more directly soon, I think. But right now we don't have a specific like Tech2 Titan in mind or anything, but it is an important thing for us to work towards, I think, and we're kind of headed there, but yeah, that can't be.
Are you sure there's no Tech2 Titan coming? Because you jumped to that pretty quickly.
Okay, two more questions, and then I think we'll have to call it quits for tonight. But obviously, we've got the opportunity for everybody to talk to them afterwards as well.
My question's about the mechanics of bumping or bouncing other ships, and whether or not there's any plans to make it somewhat more realistic to what you would expect in the real world. You know, the idea of, say, a destroyer being able to bump a Titan out of a pos, whereas in real life the destroyer would be a smear on the side of the Titan and have absolutely no effect on it.
So there's two kind of ways that we've talked about that kind of in the last 6 or 8 months. One of them is from a balance side. We've talked about making, affecting the position of other ships, something that's more directly tied to a module or a mechanic that you have a little more ability to predict kind of the behavior, and it's not quite so awkward and weird. So that's kind of from a balance side. We haven't committed to anything there yet, but it's definitely kind of an ongoing discussion. The other side is because of the now more kind of free and risky development strategy we have, where we're kind of just trying things like WASD movement and kind of going for stuff that maybe people would have been scared to touch for a while. I've been in a meeting where we talked about this exact problem actually, and whether or not there's anything we can do to Destiny, the physics engine, to just completely change the way that this works. And nothing came, like there's no plan that came from that specific meeting, but we're in a place now where we're talking about that kind of thing a lot more than we did in I think the couple years prior. So who knows? It could happen. Obviously that would be a really huge thing to mess with, and it would be a little scary, but we're doing a lot more scary stuff now, so maybe.
Last question. Thank you.
All right. This one's more aimed at Mimic. You mentioned the logs that you have show a lot of information. Is the information enough and sufficient to be able to replay what the user is experiencing?
Have you seen the null-sec stuff from the Alliance tournament?
No.
Oh, you should have a look at that.
Yes, it's possible. Yeah. It's something that doesn't scale very well, and it's also something that has a lot of design implications. If you can go back and like rewatch entire fights and kind of, I don't know, there's basically a whole lot wrapped into that, but we actually can do that. For the Alliance tournament, Veritas put together basically a replay viewer where it just APIs out all the data from the fight, the positional data, weapon data, damage, everything, and it can just get played back over and over as many times as you want in a 3D scene and everything. It's really cool. We were kind of poking at that when he was making it for the tournament and talking about whether there was any place for that on TQ. Nothing came of that at the time, but it is possible.
And can it be used for support?
That's I mean, we didn't talk about that then, but.
That would make my life much easier. Yeah. Because I've spoken to a couple of people already about, people keep asking me if I play, and it's like, well, I don't go and shoot people because all I see is log entries when I do. And it is that because we see each interaction, each mouse click, all of that, it's all there. And it would make it so much easier just to be able to see it rather than have to read through it line by line. I mean, this is why in some cases, not necessarily in a combat situation, but others where we'll just need to log into your account just so we can see what's on your client, and then it's usually like, oh, that's it, and just it's fixed. But being able to watch something the way that it happened, seeing as I know what it looks like with the replay, I think that would be awesome.
Okay, big hand for these wonderful people from CCP Games.